In this video, I'm going to go over basic audio editing
in Adobe Premiere Pro.
All right, so let's get started by doing a quick overview of everything audio related in the Adobe Premiere Pro workspace.
All right, you ready to begin your training?
Yeah, Sensei.
What the? Lesson one.
Okay, so the first thing I want to make sure that you know is that Premiere has these workspace presets up here. And right now I'm in the editing workspace. And you might think, well, we're probably just going to go over here and click on the audio workspace, which you can do. But for me, this messes things up more than I like. So I like to work out of the effects workspace and then customize it from here. So the first thing is that under here, under effects, you're going to see this essential sound tab right here. So I'm going to click on that. That's something we're going to use later. But everything else we're going to deal with is going to be in this window over here. And those three things, if we click on this double arrow thing over here, is going to be effect controls. And right now you see nothing is there. You have to be clicked on a clip for those to show up. The next one is, if we click on these again, you might see it here, but I'm using this to just make sure. The next one is the audio clip mixer. And if you click on that, it looks like this. And if you don't see it, just go up to Window and then go down to Audio Clip Mixer right there. And then the last one is the Audio Track Mixer. And same thing, if you don't see it, go up to Window and go to Audio Track Mixer. And then this is to identify what sequence you are applying that to. So check. Now, normally for me, I will just keep them all in this window. But for this tutorial, I'm actually going to click and drag this one out. So you see this like purple little angle thing here, so I can let go. And then I'm also going to drag the audio clip mixer out and do the same thing. So that means that at any given time, we can have effect controls, audio clip mixer, and track mixer open all at the same time. And then the only other thing in your workspace that you need to be aware of for audio is your meters. And this obviously just as you play something, it shows you your left and right levels. On a side note, I would also suggest color coding the types of audio clips that you have over here and sorting them into bins like folders if you want as well. So I have one folder right here that I've called sound effects. And if you look in there, one of them is coded as green and the other one is orange, but the folder is yellow. So I'm actually going to hold Control or Command and then click and click so that I can right click and then go down here to label and change them all to yellow or whatever color you want. So I'm going to click yellow. And then I'm going to leave these ones alone because I've already coded them. So my video ones that I want video and audio of are going to be blue. And then my music is going to be pink.
It's so beautiful.
All right, now let's take a look at how we can get our audio clips from here, like in our project bin, onto our sequence timeline over here. Now, the obvious is you can, I'm going to just bring this whoosh one over. You could just click on a file from here and drag it to your timeline, and that's fine. Except, in this case, I only want the audio because this is just a sound effect, and I really only want this first one right here. So here's a whoosh, I push play, and that's the only one that I want, but I just brought in everything. So my suggestion is not to do it that way. So I'm going to delete that. My suggestion is to double click. It appears like this. I'm going to click on the audio part of it. And then I'm going to go to, the part, I'm going to zoom in so I get a little more control. And I'm going to go right to this point, mark in right before it. And I'm going to go right here to mark out after it. And then you have a choice. You can drag the video in only. So if I drag this thing in, it's only going to drag the video in, which we don't obviously want. So obviously the thing that we need to do is just drag the audio only. So even if you were clicked here, you could just click on it and drag just the audio only. Now, if we didn't have this thing checked, so right now we have this V1 and A1. If this happens to be unclicked and you go to bring audio in, it's not going to let you. You're going to be like, what? Why can't I bring in my audio? Because you have to have this selected in blue. And then now we can drag it wherever we want down here. Another thing to be aware of when you're bringing in, video and audio together. So I'm going to click and drag this one in. They're going to come in linked. So on the top, here's the video and the bottom is the audio. And whether I'm clicked on either one and I drag it to move it, they're going to move together. Just know that at some point, if you happen to lock your audio here and move your video now when they're linked, it's going to tell you that it's now off by that many frames. So I'm -19 on the video, and it'll give you this red warning. So then just make sure you move it back so that they're both linked and synced. Now, the last few things that I want to make sure you understand before we actually start editing our audio have to do with our sequence down here. So if we look right now, yes, we have them color coded. So we have a pink song, we have a yellow sound effect, and we have blue dialogue. But we should organize these more even within our sequence. So I'm going to take this line. So this line in the middle here is what divides our video layers up here and our audio layers down there. So I'm going to go to the edge here and just slide this up because we don't really need the video space. We're dealing with the audio space. And I'm going to do the same thing right here. So on this line right here, I'm going to drag this one down. And that just kind of exposes this. And we can see now that this is our audio 1. So this is our audio 2. And this right here is audio 3. These are our audio tracks. Now, right now we have our music and our dialogue on the same track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my music and drag it down to track 2. And I'm going to take my sound effect here. I'm going to move it to track 3. I'm just going to arbitrarily plunk it right there. And then I'm going to move my dialogue right here. And the reason why we're doing this is so that we can rename our tracks. Because right now this one says audio 1. So I'm going to right click on that. And I'm going to rename that to dialogue. And if we pay attention up here, so right now it says audio 1 there. And if I slide this down, well, it just changed because it's going to change this to dialogue and this to dialogue in both our audio clip mixer and audio track mixer. And then obviously you can rename your other tracks as well, but you can do it up here too. So I'm going to go music there, and you're going to see it's going to change here. And if I slide this down, it would change it right there. And then I'm going to go here to make this one, just sound FX. And if you need more audio track layers than 3 like I have, then all you have to do is one of 2 things. You can right click on this thing right here next to master and then go add track, but that's going to add an A1 at the top here, and it's going to bump everything down. So you can see it added an audio 1 there and an audio 1 there. Or I'm going to go back. You can just drag any audio to the blank spot down here. So past master down to the bottom, and boom, it'll add another one right there. So now we have A1, A2, A3, and now there's an A4 right there. So obviously now whenever you have a new audio clip that you want to bring in, just make sure it's color coded and then bring it in to the appropriate track. Okay, so now that you have a general idea of where everything is and what it does, let's take a quick look at how to mute or get rid of audio. Okay, so there's actually a whole bunch of different ways that we can mute or get rid of audio within Premiere Pro. So the first way I'm going to show you is actually if you don't even want the audio in here. So you dragged it in and you have the video and the audio, but you only want the video, okay? So one way we can do that is by right-clicking and just unlinking them and then clicking on the audio and deleting it, okay? So then it is completely gone. Or you can do pretty much the exact same thing by locking the video layer, clicking on the audio layer, and then deleting it. However, if you want to keep the audio within your sequence for this clip and you just want to mute it, click on it. And then if you go over to that Essential Sound panel and click on Edit, and then pick the appropriate thing from here for now. Don't worry about whatever else it does. We'll deal with that later when we deal with effects. But I'm going to click Dialogue. And then I'm just going to ignore everything else here. These are all effects. And I'm going to go right down to the bottom and just click mute. And that's going to mute this clip right here. You can also mute entire tracks by just clicking right here on mute. And you'll see that it'll show up here and here. So you can click either of those ones as well. And then if you just want to isolate one layer, so you can just listen to one layer and not any of the other ones, then just click this S. So if I was going to play this right here, you're going to see this song is going to play and you're going to hear the whoosh right there.
Time to kick it old.
But if I just click the S here, it'll get rid of everything else except for this track. Even if I click back on my dialogue right here and then unmute it, and then we play it again, it'll only play the whoosh because we've now said that this is the solo, like the single track that we want to hear. No matter how many other layers we have, we won't play any of that audio. Now, obviously, most of the time, you're not really going to be looking to mute your audio. You just want to make it quieter or on the other end, make it louder. So I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can do that. But before I do, I want to just make sure you know to keep an eye on your meters when you're adjusting things to be louder or quieter. So this is going to tell you how loud things are, and you don't want to go up into the 0 here. So if I play this, you're going to see it's going to bounce way up into the 0 there. Like that's going to clip up there. So it's not going to sound good. You want to have your peak, so the highest, the loudest point, you want to have it like -3, -6, depending on if it's music, maybe a little bit louder, and dialogue, maybe a little bit quieter, if they're not overlapping each other, obviously. Okay, so for adjusting the volume of either a clip, an entire track, or even the entire project, I think the best place to start is right here in our sequence or timeline. And the first thing I want to make sure you do is go to this line, like whatever track you're dealing with, go to the line below it, drag it down far enough that you can see this thing show up, this little like keyframe diamond thing, okay? We're not going to use that right now, but we'll come back to it. And then also make sure to click on the clip you're dealing with, and then go over here and click on Effect Controls. So now whatever we adjust here, we're going to see it in Effect Controls. Well, we're going to slide down to the audio part right here. So you're going to see it in Effect Controls. You're going to see it on your audio clip mixer, your audio track mixer, and over here in your Essential Sound, if you scroll down to the bottom and we go here to clip volume. So this line is your kind of default audio volume, and that's set at 0. So when I click on that line and drop it and lower it, you're going to see that when I let go, so -15.6 dB, and I let go, this is going to change, and this one's going to change to match it. This one didn't, because right now we're just adjusting the clip volume, not the track volume. And then this one over here, even though it says clip volume, well, first of all, I'd have to activate it by clicking it here, but this is a separate thing. Look over here, hard limiter. If I unclick this and then I click it back, you can see it's actually an effect that's added. It's not part of our master volume. So if you want to add that as a separate thing, you can. I'm just going to uncheck it because it doesn't actually get impacted by what I do here or within these ones over here. Just know, I'm going to slide this over. If you change it from here, if I slide this up, for example, I clicked on that and I'm sliding it to the right, it's going to add a keyframe. And we're going to talk about this later in the next section with dynamics. So if you just want to raise the volume up or down, I'm going to undo that. Make sure you unclick this toggle animation first so it's not blue, and then adjust it. Now I'm going to go back to this, and now when you adjust that, it's going to adjust everything the same, and you're not going to be dealing with like animated keyframes. Something else I want you to notice up here is you can see that the slider for dialogue and music is there, but the one for SFX isn't. Because wherever this line is, whatever clip it's hovering over on that track, that's what you can adjust individually here for the clip. So in order to activate this one, I'd have to slide this over, and then now that one's going to be there for me to move because I can adjust this clip at this point, this clip, and this clip right here. 1, 2, 3. And if you notice over here, as I clicked, it's going to change to my song, and then click here and it's going to go back to my dialogue clip. In terms of adjusting your audio track mixers over here, you can adjust them right here. So if I took this and I drop this down, you're going to see that the number drops there, but the line does not move because right now we're looking at the visual of the clip volume. So I'm just going to undo, and that's where this, I told you to drag this line down. Now if we click on this, we're going to get this little drop down. You can see clip keyframes, but now we want to go to track keyframes, and we're just going to go to volume. Now you can see that this line actually extends just on this track. It extends all the way down the track. So no matter what we put on this one, so if I went over here and dragged in my only right channel clip, then when we adjust the volume of the track, it's going to adjust the volume of every single clip in relation to what you had adjusted for volume on the individual clip as well. Okay, so now when I slide this down, you're going to see that line is going to drop for every single thing on this track. This is something that you can often use for music or sound effects if you want, no matter what song you put on here, if you want to change this over to track volume and just make sure that, you're going to go, I'm going to have all of my music at, minus 20 dB. If for some reason you want to change the volume of your entire project or sequence, you can do that as well by going down here to Master. And I'm just going to slide this over so you can see right here under your audio track mixer, you also have a master one. So whatever we change here, so if I click on this and slide it to the left to bring it down, you can see that this slider was moving as well. So this controls the entire project all at once.
I just want to talk about mind control.
So the next part of this video, I'm going to go over how to create dynamics within your audio. We're really just talking about when you have a song and then you want to duck it to be quieter. And then when somebody's done talking, you want to bring the song back up again afterwards. Or if you want to fade something in or fade it out. All right, so the best way that I thought to show you how to do those things would be to build a quick little edit and then manipulate my audio dynamics within here to kind of fix the edit, okay? So here's the original edit.
Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school.
In this video, I'm going to go over basic audio editing in Adobe Premiere Pro.
Give it to me, baby.
So basically all I did here was I put a random clip that has some audio, then it goes to my dialogue clip, and then goes to another random clip at the end, and I've just faded in the video at the start and the end. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is adjust the song so that it ducks to be quieter when I'm talking and then comes back up to be loud for when it hits this clip. So it'll be loud here and then quiet and then loud again. And since I'm editing just the music clip right here, I'm going to make sure I'm clicked on it so that I'll see it over here in my effect controls. And I'm going to make sure that this line is dropped down. So we want to drop it so we can see this keyframe thing again. Now, if you're clicked on here, you should be able to go to wherever you want the audio to start dipping. So I'm going to use this, just step back a little bit. I'm going to start it dipping about right here. And I'm going to go and click a keyframe right here. Boom. And you see it puts a little dot right there. Now, if for some reason you can't add a keyframe here, like this is grayed out, then just first of all, make sure you're clicked on your clip that you're going to be adjusting. So this music clip, then right click on it, go down to show clip keyframes, go over to volume, and go down to level. Make sure that one is selected right there. So that means from here until here, my volume is the same at 0. I'm going to scoot forward a little bit. And then at this point, I'm going to put another keyframe. And then I'm just going to drag this one down. So I'm going to go to about, minus 20 or so. I'm going to drop it quite a bit. Then it's going to stay at minus 20 all the way until about right here. And then I'm going to put another keyframe, and then I'm going to slide over to the next part where I want it to be back to 0. So we'll put another keyframe, and then I could slide this up to try and get it to 0 if I want, but you can see it's kind of going all over the place. So I'm going to go back for a second. All that I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here now to my audio clip mixer, or I could go over here to my levels, and I'm going to just click in here and put in 0, and that's going to put it back to 0. Now, if you remember when I said, if you're going to adjust your volume over here, it's going to put in keyframes. Well, you can see that every keyframe that we put in here is also going to show up right here in your effect controls. And then you probably guessed, but to fade it, you do the same thing. So I'm going to go to about here now. I'm going to click another keyframe. Then I'm going to go to the end where I want the music to be kind of nothing, put another keyframe, and I'm just going to go here this time so you can see I'm going to click on this and just drop this all the way down. So it's going to fade out my music right there. You can do it at the start if you want to. I wouldn't do it for this song in this case because the person starts talking right away at the very start. But if you were going to do it, you'd obviously come in, click your keyframe where you want it, then go to the very start, put in a keyframe, and then you'd drop that one all the way down to fade it in. Another way to do simple fades and like transitions from clip to clip is actually go to your effects and then down to audio transitions under crossfade and constant power. All you have to do is click that and drag it to the clip. If it's going to be a transition, drag it to the middle between the two clips on the audio side. So I'm going to drag one there, drag one to the very start, and I'm going to drag one to the very end. So these two in the middle, I'm actually going to just crank down completely to nothing. Just slide it down so it's just a sliver. That just helps it kind of blend from one clip to the next, so there's not any kind of glitch in between. And then these are going to be my fades at the start and at the end for, these two clips that are bookending my dialogue. So for this first one, I'm going to, the shorter you make this, the quicker the transition in is going to be, and the longer you make it, the more gradual it's going to be. So for this one, I'm going to make it kind of gradual, and at the end, I'm going to kind of match where the fade out of the song was happening, okay? So now, if we watch this clip again, this little edit that I did, you'll see the difference that ducking makes, so to hear me talk, and then kind of the fades here, and then the fade at the end. Okay, so here we go.
Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school.
In this video, I'm going to go over basic audio editing in Adobe Premiere Pro.
Give it to me, baby.
Okay, so I didn't actually listen to it when I was editing it, so I don't know if this was too quiet or too loud, but obviously if you need to adjust it now, you can just click on your keyframes and drag them up if you need it louder, or drag them down if you need it quieter. Plus, if you move them left and right, you can change, what I mentioned up here of how gradual or how abrupt the change in volume happens. So if you have the keyframes really close to one another, this is gonna go quiet and then quickly rise up to be loud. But if you drag this over and drag this over, then the transition is gonna go loud to slowly get to be quiet and then slowly get to be loud again. And if your dialogue was too quiet, you can obviously just crank this up a little bit as well, or drop other things that were maybe too loud.
You give me like a warning. Quiet!
And that brings us to our final topic of this video, which is the basics of how to add and manipulate audio effects in Premiere Pro. One way to add audio effects is just to go over here to Effects. If you don't see it here, just go to Window again and go down to Effects, and then just click on this Audio Effects little drop-down arrow, and you'll see a whole bunch of the effects that you can add to your clips. You can either drop these down to find effects in here, or if you know what your effect is, you can just type it up here. So I'm gonna search for pitch shifter, so right there, and then you just click on it and drag it onto the clip on the audio side that you want. And then you'll notice over here in your effect controls that it will appear under your audio effects right there. So here was your normal ones, and then here's your new effect that you've added. Now, for most of them, when you play the clip right away now, so if I play this, in this video, I'm gonna go over basic audio. There'll be nothing that is different. On some of them it will, but on most of them it won't. So then you have to go over here and actually edit it. So I'm gonna click Edit, and all of them have some sort of window that pops up that you can, slide things along and change them. So at the start of this video, I use Pitch Shifter to manipulate my voice. So I'm gonna just drop that one down like that. And now when we watch it,
In this video, I'm gonna go over basic
you can see that I've adjusted my voice. And just so you know, you can add an effect to an entire track as well by just going up to your audio track mixer, clicking this little side arrow thing to get this look right here, and then go to one of these little drop downs, click right there, and you'll get kind of these same categories that you have in your audio effects. So let's say I want to go over here and click on high pass filter. So I'd click that, and then it would show up here. Now you can add other ones too. So if I went in here and went to a different one, let's go down to parametric equalizer. Then if you want to edit any of them, you can click on it and then tweak some of the settings right here. And then some of them you can double click and it'll bring up that same menu that you can then mess with and tweak your settings. So whatever you do there is going to be applied to every single audio clip that you put on that track. The other way to add audio effects to your clips is to go over here to the Essential Sound tab, and then you have to identify what type of audio you're dealing with, like I mentioned before. So in this case, I'm dealing with dialogue. If you click on that, you're going to get a bunch of categories here that you can mess with that are kind of preset to go along with dialogue. Now, you can choose a general preset here, so I'm going to come back to this in a second. But under, let's say, clarity, there'll be some options that you can mess with. So you can click on, let's say, dynamics, and you'll notice that over here, a dynamics effect will be added. I'm just going to get rid of pitch shifter for a second here, just delete. So dynamics will be added. If I unclick that, then it's going to be gone. So if I click on it again, you can still go in and manually edit like I showed you before. This is the menu for that one. Or this just makes it a simplified version. So if I'll just show you. If I click edit there and I slide this along, it's going to adjust the dynamics accordingly. It's kind of this kind of easy preset slider to go for dynamics. And each of these categories has something different. Now, if you click a preset up here, so if I click this and for dialogue, I want to go with, let's say, podcast voice, then you're going to notice within over here, there's a whole bunch of effects that are added to go along with that. And when we go back into, let's say, clarity there, you're going to see that dynamics is already checked and it has a spot. EQ has been selected with preset podcast voice and an amount is already preset. So this is a good kind of starter way to start messing around with audio effects on your clips. And just quickly, if I go over to click on music here and select music as my type, you're going to see that there's going to be different drop-down menus that you can mess with for each one. So I'm going to go over to this sound effect and click sound effects, and you'll see again, there's different ones than we had before. And that's it. That's all I have for my intro to basic audio editing in Adobe Premiere Pro. But if you check the description below, you're going to find some links of some other video tutorials that are audio related as well. So if you got something out of this video, make sure to drop a like. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and I'll catch you next time.